Hi everyone. Today we are going to talk about the value sphere. So, a value sphere is when you are going to deceive your viewer into thinking the circle you draw actually looks like it's three-dimensional and round. So, yesterday we practiced a value scale and we gave you a lot of space to change the values slowly. But now what we're going to do is take this value scale and we're going to make it very, very small. And you're going to use different values within this circle to try and make it look rounded. So we're going to start with highlights. Highlights are your light values. So 1 to 4. Really, the 1 is where your highlight truly is. And that's where your light source, the light bulb, the sun, is the brightest. Okay, so you actually leave that area blank, and then you're going to use your 2 and 3s to slowly value around the highlight. And then as you come forward here, we have transitional shadows, which are about 5 to 8, and those come through here pretty quickly. Then you have a coarse shadow right here. Now your coarse shadow does not go to the end of your circle. It's about 3/4, 75% of the way through your circle. And that is where you'll get about an 8 or a 9 value. We never go fully 11 in the coarse shadow, okay? So you're going to go about an 8 or a 9 value here, and then you go backwards. So this is called reflective light. So when your light source is shining on this circle, some of the light bounces off of the table and then onto the item, the ball. So you actually will go backwards and you'll have about a 6 value for reflective light. Now the tricky thing here is when you have a shadow, especially a dark shadow, if our light source is really bright, the theory is that your item, the sphere, is blocking the light source, so it creates this very dark shadow because light's not getting to it. And that's when you would have about a 10, okay, would be your dark shadow, your cast shadow. So we're going to take this value scale, we're going to make it small, we're going to do exactly what I just said. If you have the value packet at home, you can use the already pre-made one. You can also print this off, or if you're at home, you can, I use a masking tape roll. You can put that down, trace that, and then you'll have to do your cast shadow separately. So let me just start with your foundational values. So the first layer of values you put down is the ugliest. Never looks good. You're going to see scribbles. You're going to see overlapping. It takes time, but I want you to focus on keeping your lines close together and having smooth application as much as possible. Okay, so we're going to start with the highlights. So pretend your light source is coming from the top right, and we're going to pretend our light source is right here. And I like to think of it about the size of my thumb. However, don't draw an oval there because this is not an olive. So what you have to do is you have to very lightly come in here. Let me see if I can get closer. You're going to come in here and put the light values around the highlight. When you add value behind a light object, it instantly makes it look like a highlight. So that's what you need to do first, is put value around the highlighted area, the 1 value, okay? So next I'm going to do, and I'm going to do a time lapse, I'm going to take this value, which I would say is about a 2, and do the entire circle cast shadow in this 2 value. And I'm really just focusing on a very smooth foundation value. I know it's not going to be perfect, but you'll see as I evolve and add more and more layers, spending the most time on this will save me an enormous amount of time in the future. So now I'm going to time lapse. All right, so I did my foundational value. This is all a 2 value here. Now I want to point out, I didn't mention it before, if you actually go with the curve, you can see here, even though my lines are going up and down, I go with the curve of the sphere. It will help give the illusion that this is round. And we're really trying to trick the viewer into thinking what we're drawing is three-dimensional. So any little tricks are super, super helpful, okay? So next I'm going to come along here, and then you'll see I'm going to kind of leave this area now, and I'm going to come out and make all this from here down darker. Okay, so I wanted to stop and point out, when you have values on something that's three-dimensional, whatever is farthest from you, the farthest point, it will be smaller. Similar perspective. So as the light is wrapping around the sphere, it gets wider. And then as it goes backwards in space, or behind in space, it gets smaller. So that's what I'm doing there. Okay, I'm going to keep this value, and I'm going to go all the way down to here and also here. All right, so you can kind of see, here's my highlight, my 1 value. Then around it's about a 2 to a 3. And then from here down I did about a 3 value. And so now I have to take my value scale and make it change really, really fast from here. So it needs to go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then it's going to go reversed. So I'm going to build this up, the transitional shadows into the core shadow, and then probably come back and chat about it. I do want to point out, I'm noticing with myself that my hand's dragging across the sphere. When that happens, you might get graphite on your hand. And the worst thing is you're smearing what you've been working so hard on. So a trick that I was taught when I was your age in art class, take a piece of paper. I'm just folding mine because my paper's strangely big. But when you're coloring, put the paper underneath your hand, so if you move your hand, what you're moving across is not smearing your beautiful artwork. So that might help you keep it nice and clean. And then you just move it when you need to throughout, okay? So I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to transition really, really fast in a small, like 2-inch space, go from a 3 to an 8. Hope you like it.